The following opinions are solely those of BoatTEST.com and its test captain.
The Fleming 58 is a CE Ocean A rated vessel, which means that she's capable of handling offshore conditions with wave heights above 13 feet and winds over 40 knots, not including named storms. The 58's hull is solid fiberglass, which is the most puncture resistant of all fiberglass construction methods. Her outer laminations consist of layers of vinyl ester resin and 5 barrier coats of epoxy, making her hull impervious to water osmosis. Her stringers and frames are numerous and beefy, creating a very strong hull. Her hull and deck joints are double bonded at the deck line under the cap rail and the bulwarks. The Fleming Pilot House design has most of its weight low in the hull. Top hamper is at a minimum, and the superstructure and decks are lightweight composite core construction, which keeps CG low and makes her more stable underway. Her keel extends 12 inches below the prop, forms a double bottom for added safety, and has an 8-foot long stainless steel shoe. The Fleming 58 is 65 feet 9 inches length overall. The hull is 62 feet 9 inches long, and her waterline is 56 feet 8 inches long. Her beam is 17 feet 6 inches, and she draws 5 feet. Her minimum dry weight is 88,000 pounds. With many options, half fuel and water on board, plus 5 people and gear, we estimated that our test vessel weighed about 98,290 pounds. Our boat was powered by twin inline 6-cylinder 12.4-liter MAN diesels, which develop 800 horsepower. Our average top speed was 20.2 knots at 2340 RPM. Top speed this fast is an important attribute for a 100,000-pound trawler because she can outrun a storm or make a harbor before nightfall in a pinch. At that speed, she has an endurance of 15 hours with a 10% fuel reserve. But that's not what this boat was intended to do. Rather, she's designed to travel at displacement speeds and cover long distances. Most Fleming owners run their boats at 20, 30, or 40 liters per hour, or 5.3, 7.9, or 10.6 gallons per hour. At those fuel burns, we found that the Fleming 58 cruised at 8.5, 9.3, and 10.5 knots respectively, with ranges from 1,000 to 1,700 nautical miles, still with a 10% reserve. You might ask, how much fuel would the Fleming 58 save if she had just one small, low-horsepower engine? The answer is, surprisingly, none. Our research shows that a single-engine trawler with slightly less displacement with a single 175-horsepower diesel has to turn 2,100 RPM in order to get 8.3 knots, and burn 6 gallons per hour doing it. At that same speed, our test showed that the Fleming 58 burned 5.3 gallons at only 950 RPM for a fuel savings of 13%. At wide open throttle, the single-engine trawler went 8.9 knots, but the Fleming 58 with twin 800s was just loping along at 1080 RPM, going 9.3 knots and burning 16% less fuel. The twin-engine Fleming was both faster and more efficient than the single-engine trawler. The model we tested had 2 primary helm stations and 2 remote joystick positions at the stern for backing into a slip. One is on the boat deck and one is in the cockpit wet bar console. The lower helm has a simple layout with all the electronics necessary to go world cruising without overloading the helm with gauges and gadgets. We would not be without the optional remotes on the left and right armrests for the autopilot and nav aids on the captain's chair. This model had only 1 chair at the helm, but 2 can be ordered. To the left is a chart table with plenty of drawers, and right behind the helm is a raised dinette. All propulsion controls were supplied by Twin Disc, which manufactures the extremely smooth, quick-shift marine gears. On this boat, the captain has his pick of using the joysticks or the bow and stern thrusters at the primary helm stations when docking. One of the most important items of standard electronic equipment on board is the Bonning Fleming monitoring system, which is displayed on a 15-inch screen at both the lower and upper helms. This remarkable system monitors virtually all of the vital signs on the boat. On the first screen is a pre-departure checklist, just like the ones airline pilots have. It even records all data on a hard drive, and the data can be sent over the internet. The 58 is designed for short-handed or single-handed cruising. In order to set the anchor or handle dock lines, the captain can quickly step out the port or starboard sliding aluminum doors and go through the port or starboard gates and the Portuguese bridge bulwarks to access the foredeck. This can be done securely because handrails are everywhere. The Portuguese bulwarks are 36 inches high, and the foredeck bulwarks are 26 inches high, with safety rails that are up to 36 inches high. Fenders and dock lines are handy, being stowed in the 4 bins in the trunk cabin. The bow pulpit is raised, making anchor handling easy without having to bend over too far. 2 large 24-volt DC Maxwell windlasses come standard. Our test boat had 1 hydraulic windlass and 1 electric for power source redundancy. The The vessel comes standard with a polished stainless steel ultra anchor and 300 feet of 7/16 galvanized chain. The access hatch for the 2 chain compartments is large enough for the captain to get into and untangle snarls. To the left of the pulpit are both fresh and raw water outlets for chain and anchor washdown. In the bow, the stern quarters, and amidships, there are 12 large hawse pipes with 24 robust cleats on either side so that 2 lines can easily be fed through each location for mooring to a dock or rafting up. Side decks are nearly 21 inches wide on deck and are covered with 5/8 inch thick teak as standard, and the decks are symmetrical. Now, let's go to the heart of this beast in the engine room. Going below, the first thing we see is a full set of Fleming snap-on tools in the lazarette, which has 4 feet 6 inches of headroom, then onto the engine room, which has 5 feet 11.5 inches of headroom. The man engine's raw water through hulls are easy to reach, as are the Graco sea strainers above them. The system runs raw water through the plates rather than tubes in the heat exchanger to avoid corrosion. Note the engine's coolant level sight gauge. The engines have water jackets on the turbos, which improves their efficiency, and Fleming has 2 stainless supports for the exhaust risers anchored to the engine as they should be, and not on the hull. Fleming has worked hard on reducing vibration and noise, which can be seen on these remarkably stout engine mounts under the rubber isolators with 6 bolts to the engine bed. The gold-colored C-Torque bolt-on shaft system couples the output from the marine gear to the 4-inch drive shaft, which is encased in a tube and immersed in oil. Thrust bearings in the C-Torque housing transmit force to the frames and stringers of the boat, and not to the engine, thus reducing more vibration. The 58's fuel management system is simple, taking fuel from the 2 725-gallon fiberglass tanks and delivering it to the mains and generators with the turn of a dial. There are solenoid-activated sight gauges on each tank in addition to the bonding Fleming electronic monitoring system. Most important, the tanks are located amidships, so burning off fuel does not affect boat trim. The fuel tanks are made of vinyl ester resin, have sumps to drain off gunk, and large cleanout ports, among other things. These tanks are far better than aluminum tanks we sometimes see, and many fiberglass tanks. The generator, located by the watertight door to the lazarette, is a 17 kW Onan that's mounted on 2 anti-vibration soft mounts instead of the normal 1. The 58 comes standard with ABT track 7.5 square foot stabilizers with winglets that are hydraulically actuated. Fleming says that these external stabilizers are far more effective over 5 knots than our 2 internal gyro stabilizers. The Fleming 58 has virtually everything that an owner needs to go serious cruising, and there are far too many systems for us to cover in this video. For that, please see our captain's report. But we would like to point out 2 other items of standard equipment that are unusual and point to Fleming's remarkable build on the 58. First is the Alpha C frequency converter. It accepts shore power from 170 to 520 volts and frequencies from 40 to 70 Hz. 60 Hz is found in North America and some places in the Caribbean and South America, but most of the world uses 50 Hz. This alone makes the 58 a world cruising yacht. The other thing is simple but vital. 2 high-capacity 24-volt DC freshwater pumps, so if one burns out, the vessel has a backup. And there are backup systems too for the hydraulic steering, water heater, hydraulic systems, engine shutdown, fuel filters, oil change units, bilge pumps, batteries, alternators, propulsion controls, and so much more. Other standard equipment includes a 1,000-pound steelhead hydraulic davit, Kahlenberg horns, 2 Stid chairs, a side power 15 horsepower bow thruster, 3 Planus toilets, 2 24-volt Mastervolt battery chargers, EFIT, Fleming's information tablet that covers the details of the whole boat, including wiring and plumbing diagrams, Cruise Air reverse cycle AC, and a system that automatically closes all air vents to the engine room in case of fire, in addition to an automatic fire extinguishing system. There are a number of things that the owner of this particular Fleming 58 added that enhanced its world cruising capability. First, he upgraded the electric windlass and his bow and stern thrusters. Here we can see the power takeoff and hoses that run fore and aft in the boat from this starting point. Secondly, he added an FCI water maker unit that produced 1,800 gallons per day. By having this capacity, the ship's 320-gallon freshwater tanks can be filled in about 4 hours. Well, that's our look at the performance and operating aspects of the Fleming 58, but there's a lot more to her, so please be sure to see our video on her interior and cruising accommodations. For BoatTEST.com, I'm Captain Steve. We'll see you on the water.